Hello, welcome to Everyday Experts. I'm the founding Joker of the Everyday Experts, Sir Joker. Today is a very important day for me because the young poet, writer, many things, visual artist, teacher, aficionado that I have on today is a person who showed me a lot of the ropes for poetry, performing, more so than poetry, but performing, how to improve my writing, how to make things better, how to be myself and, be in front of people and still be yourself. Very accomplished man. I've known him since 2000, we'll say 2010. So I've known him a good 12 years. He's always been someone that I could go to if I had issues. He's a phenomenal writer in himself. And if you actually laid our books next to each other, you would see that our styles are vastly different. And that's why it's important to have somebody who doesn't necessarily always think like you, but can show you the way. We've gone back and forth about poems, about ideas. We've talked about doing a lot of different things. And at the end of the show today, we have something very special for you guys that we haven't done yet, but it's going to be something new, something we're trying. Mr. Clarence Bess is many things. The pool player that I found out during the pre-interview. He's a huge Prince fan and paragon of writing. He's excellent. He's magnanimous. He's a paraprofessional. He works with kids. He's always helping people. He's helping kids. He's guiding so many others. And I could, effuse on about Mr. Bess for days and days. But the best way to introduce him is with his own words. In 2014, Mr. Bess wrote a poem called That Time Again. I'm only going to read a snippet of it. And then, he could tell me how bad I did and how much credit I didn't give it, but I'm going to do my best. That time again. So here I am, in thought again, beneath cumulus decisions, as I make my way past fields, overgrown with desperation, and a content, destructive stunning. Somewhere amongst these paths, I exist. Wonder whether dreams, as mine, are seductively, unconsciously peppered with regret, and a longing for completion, a full circle of strength and balance, which in my age I've come to learn, come only with dialogue. External, I remember when he said, understand and always be aware of your surroundings. For once you truly see where you are, you will certainly understand where it is you want to go and how to get there. Avoiding the obstacles bound to be placed in your path, leading to dialogues, internal, and desires to never perpetrate those things. They would have us to be. Mr. Clarence C. Bess, I welcome you to Everyday Experts.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Achille. Wow, what a great place to start. What a great place to start, man. Oh, wow. First of all, the honor's all mine. We've known each other for many years now.
Yeah.
Many years now. I've seen you grow and just tackle some really hard times and some beautiful times, just as you have seen me do. And though we haven't always been right there next to each other, you know what? The poetry kept flowing, the love, the brotherhood kept flowing, and it's something that I am eternally grateful for. You know, you always like to say that I'm your mentor, you know, but I like to say that I think poets mentor each other. There are things about up and coming poets that the more seasoned writers and poets, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, myself, you know, trust me, you know, sometimes you lose your way, and you need to embrace younger talent, so that way you can kind of see, oh, you know what, I either need to step my game up or maybe shift it a little bit this way and
Yep.
whatnot. And all that starts with dialogue. It starts with dialogue, and I'm so happy you chose that piece. You know, it's funny. I don't know about you. People think I have published books. I'm now trying to catch up to you. I'm trying to catch up to this man over here, and this guy publishes some books, all right. But it's funny. I've written so much
Mm-hmm.
that I have probably forgotten more than I've written. Uh, and I won't recall things until I either hear them or I'm going through
Mm-hmm.
manuscripts and I'm going, oh my God, I wrote that.
Right.
Or sometimes I'm going, ew, I wrote that. You know? And so,
That in the
you know,
book. Woo.
exactly. I was like, ooh, yeah, don't let anybody see that one. Don't, you know, or as I like to call it, revision.
Right. 100%. Um, one big thing that when we were doing our pre-interview, I said to you, this is the first time we've both been married at the same time. And the whole time we
For
wrote this,
real.
and it was
For real.
that it's real. Exactly. It's like, and
Bam. Bam. Look at it shine. Look at it
exactly.
shine.
And
Yeah.
you know, the journey to your marriage is so many things, and you know, and we'll get into that. Um, but what it shows is that, and like you said, if you put and I said books, but if you put our lives, we couldn't be more polar opposite, but we still vibe. And that's what is important, especially when it comes to art and writing.
Exactly. You know, art is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
It's interpretation, and I always tell people, you know, listen, especially my students. I used to love, especially when I worked with the older students,
Mm-hmm.
and I would do pieces, and I would have blank stares, and I would have kids say, you know, and students say, I don't understand, and I'm like, that's fine, that's perfect, because guess what? It's not meant for you to understand it one way or another. It's actually interpretation. It's something that I want you to possibly glean something from, because the truth is, even if you understood it now, guess what? You're this age. 10 years, you know, down the road, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to look at that same piece and do the exact same thing I might do and go, oh, I'm seeing something completely different. That's not maybe what I meant, but oh, wow, I'm seeing something different. I had a piece, it was amazing in my very first book, Actuality Askew. I had a piece, and it was it was like a haiku, and it went something about um, getting jammed in the back
Mm-hmm.
7 times and then dying and whatnot. And I had a friend of mine who's a medical doctor, he's a physician, and he read it. And the first thing he said, "Oh wow, this is about AIDS." And I went, "Oh, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wow. Actually, no, it's not."
Right.
But oh man, that's whoa. And it just totally made me look at that piece that I had written myself completely different. I had always walked around knowing why I wrote it. And but to hear his interpretation of it,
Mm-hmm.
it just was a clear reminder that, you know what, hey, art, poetry, pottery, sculpture, it's all interpretive.
Yes.
Nobody's wrong. Nobody's right.
No. And it's always up for interpretation, and that's why I love when people ask me, "What were you thinking when you wrote this?" and blah blah blah. And what were you thinking? And my favorite answer is always, I was thinking what I was thinking, but what you take from it, that's exactly what
It's
you're
up
meant
to
to
you.
take from it.
It is, yeah, exactly. It's up to you. is up to you. Yeah.
It's up to you, sir. Sir, so the first question I ask everybody on Everyday Experts, and they think I'm a little weird, but if you could be a vampire, wolf or werewolf, a zombie, a ghost, or a serial killer, which would you pick and why?
Oh shit.
I love that answer.
Okay, so I mean, they've got some pros and cons.
Yeah.
Um, I guess in the immediate sense,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say I would love to be a vampire. Yeah, I'm a Macbeth person, and anyone who's ever read Macbeth knows Macbeth is all about blood. It's horror, it's bloody. You know what I mean? It's just murder,
Yeah.
and I've always been fascinated with this concept of living eternally. I grew up in a very, I'm not going to say spiritual. That's a whole conversation itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a religious family, and I had to sit through many sermons
Mm-hmm.
about your eternal soul, and especially towards the end, damnation and all this stuff, and your eternal soul, and yet here it is. We have this mythology that is based on being eternal and living forever. And how many of us really do want to live forever? How many of us want to just go on and on and on and on and on and on?
Yeah.
And there's something kind of fascinating about that. I like it in the immediate sense, because vampires are strong. They are beautiful creatures. They move in shadows, and they are able to exist in a place that so few people would ever consider existing in. And I just think that that's kind of awesome. I wouldn't want to be a werewolf because I'm too fond of the canine species, and I just don't want to be changing into one and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to end up in Michael Vick's backyard, my second one would be a ghost, but that's a little something else. Yeah,
I love the exposition around the answer. That's perfect. So you touched on it. So you have two ways you can start, and I'll leave that to you. You can talk about your adoptive family, or you can talk about your biological family. Whichever way you want to start is where we'll kind of take the ship. So I know your planning your biological family has been huge, big, and I'm not being like, it's been amazing to you. It's been a journey.
Yes. Yeah, it really has been a journey. It's interesting because I remember, I'm going to take a little step back here to even before I met you, back in 2006, I did a one-man show based on my poetry, and I would never forget people coming up to me afterwards and saying to me, well, when's the book going to come out? When are you doing the book? When's the book? And I hadn't even thought about writing a book at the time, and I was kind of like, can I get back to you on that, type of thing. And when I began this journey, I kind of thought I wanted to write about it, and then I knew I wanted to write about it, and then I became worried about writing about it, and because it's taken so many different iterations, it's gone from a focus on the adoptive journey, you know what I mean, in terms of my adoptive family, to a focus strictly on my biological family, to a little bit of both. And I've settled on something that I'm enjoying composing, because it's taken me back to my roots. It's taken me back to my roots in terms of how I wrote and why I wrote.
Say that again.
And so that
powerful. it took you back to a journey of how you wrote and why you wrote.
Exactly. And
That's
why I wrote. Exactly.
powerful.
And I'm going to begin. I will start off with this. I'm going to start off with my biological family.
Okay.
I was never a student. In fact, my mother and I, we laugh about it now, about how I hated geography and I hated school. And I would say, why do I have to do this? I'm never going to go anywhere. I'm never going to, do this or that and blah, blah, blah. Why should I have to learn things? And she's like, look at you now, you've been all over the world and blah, 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 these types of things like that. And, you're very well traveled. You live in New York and all these things. And,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because there's a quote that I live by when it comes to my art, and it says, "It's out of the lie came truth.
Mm.
Out of the truth, out of the lie came truth. Out of the truth came thought. Out of the thought came life." The reason why I say that is my writing started as a lie. It actually started as a lie. I was in seventh grade,
Mm-hmm.
I had this teacher. Her name was Mrs. Vukovic at Franklin Junior High in Tampa, Florida. And Mrs. Vukovic, I will never forget. One day she stood in front of us. She had a Tampa Tribune, which was the local paper, and she read us this story and told us about a competition they were having where they would students could write a one-page story and submit it to the Tampa Tribune, and they would choose the best ones and they would publish them. And so at the time, I was going through some serious things, truancy issues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my mother had raised all kind of hell when she found out that they knew that I was truant and they weren't telling her or my parents where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sort of being monitored in terms of my homework and what I was doing. Anyways, I decided that I could lie and tell my father, the bane of my existence.
Mm.
You got that Batman reference?
Mm-hmm.
The bane of my
Did you have
existence.
my
And I could tell him that this was my homework. It was my assignment to write this thing. And if he wanted to research it, he would find out that, yes, the Tampa Tribune was doing this and whatever like that. And I remember going in my little box, my little blue box, as I would call it, which was my room. I didn't have a desk or anything. And I remember getting some loose leaf paper and kneeling at my bed and taking this paper out and writing this story. And one page turned into two, turned into three, turned into four, turned into five. The point is, by the time I finished writing, I had 15 pages of handwritten gibberish that only I would understand.
Wow.
But it was the first time I truly understood creation. I understood what it was like to create something, and what I was creating was mine. It was no one else's. It was something that I could manipulate and do whatever I wanted to do with it. And before I knew it, that lie became a truth. That lie became what I did. That lie became something I was known for. Flash forward a couple of years, and I was in sort of the whispering of among students, oh, that's the guy. He writes. He's the one who writes the stories. He writes the stories, and it was very freeing. I grew up in a very restrictive environment, and communication was along the lines of listen, but do not talk. Talk, but we do not hear. As someone who had many different thoughts in his head and was entering a period of his life where everything, of course, was changing, my writing was the first part of my being saved. It was the thing that really began to ground me. It was the thing that sort of allowed me to begin to enjoy school. It was the thing that focused me
Mm-hmm.
and sort of helped guide me and push me into my future. Um, with that being said, you know, it was very interesting. I was told very early on that I was adopted, and I never had a problem with being adopted. Of course, when I became a teenager, there were definitely some arguments, and there was one time where I clearly remember saying to my mom and dad, I think at the time we were around the dinner table, about how they weren't my parents, and I probably specifically aimed it at my father, but I do remember saying it. I'm sorry.
The bane of your existence. You can go on. I was just.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I do remember saying it, and I, I didn't really think about my adoption beyond moments, beyond little moments. And then it wasn't until I moved to New York, uh, I got an inkling, probably at this point, 16, 17, almost 18 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
to look for them. And I approached the state of Florida, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, your records are sealed. We only unblock them for medical emergencies or with a court order." And I just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I Hindsight being 2020, of course, I wasn't in the place. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right moment. Flash forward to COVID.
Mm.
Something good came out of COVID, and I had a lot of time on my hands. Was working from home, and in between, working and walking the dog, and it was like, I can't go anywhere, So what did I do? Like a lot of other people, I read and I started to watch a lot of television,
Mm-hmm.
and I was watching this show I'd heard about called This Is Us, and really fell in love with the character on that show. His name is Randall, and I think the actor's name is Sterling K. Brown or something like
Sterling
that. I
K.
think it
Brown.
is. Yeah, and his portrayal of this character, I'd never seen that much depth outside of Antoine Fisher,
Mm.
which reminded me of my story. Not directly, of course. My parents are African American. Very very conservative Southerners. That type of thing. It wasn't the I have a lily white family and a white
Yeah.
brother and sister, that type of thing like that. But those emotions, those that wanting to find someone who looked like you, and where do things come from? Why are you the way you are? You know what I mean? And where does nature, where did my nurturing end and my nature begin, and vice versa?
Mm.
Um, and so that, that really lit a fire under my ass. And before I knew it, I was talking to a friend, and he said, listen, based upon what you're telling me, you're going to have to go the DNA test route.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 2 DNA tests later, and I come across a guy who looks practically just like me, just bigger, just a little bigger. He looked a little older,
Yeah.
but they don't tell you the age range. I'm showing people at work and going, this guy looks just, and they're going, whoa, dude, y'all got to be related, man. That's like,
Right.
whoa, like that's, you think that's your daddy? I'm like, well, look at the age. He can't be my daddy, da da da. I'm like, well, y'all are related,
Yeah.
and so I decided to reach out to him, and I was shocked when he got back in contact with me, and he was like, I understand I understand what you're doing, man, and I'm willing to talk to you. And I was like, great. I remember I was on my way to work, and I sent him a quick message back. I was like, listen, I work from 8:30 to 3. I can be reached at this time at this number, whenever you want to call. Like I'm I'm bam right there, and then there was crickets, like nothing, and I
Mm.
was like, oh shit.
How did that
I was
feel?
like, oh damn.
How did
I
that?
was like, oh damn,
Yeah.
and this feeling of rejection
Mm.
came up, and it reminded me of the rejection I have felt throughout growing up. The difference is because I'm older, I understood that in order for me to take this journey, I had to have a conversation with myself about accepting whatever happened or didn't happen.
Yep.
And so though it hurt and stung, I said, "Oh, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be," and I kept it moving. And then a few weeks later, literally an angel contacted me, and she said to me, she's like, "Hi, you know, my name is Angel, and I see that we share DNA. She's second only to her mother." She told me this name, and I thought the name sounded familiar. And sure enough, her mother turned out to be the second highest DNA match on my list, and it was like, whoa.
Wow.
So I said, you know, listen, I don't know how to help you in your journey, but I'm adopted. So, you know, does your mother have any connection to Florida? Turns out, long story short, she had a cousin, and then the ball just started rolling down that Mount Everest so fast. The avalanche it just turned into an avalanche, and here we are. As a result, it turns out that her cousin is my father, is my biological father, and he was still in contact with the woman who is my biological mother. And the first gentleman that I came across, who I reached out to, it turned out is a brother. And so, you know, all the details in between are really where this story, where this new work, where this new piece is going, and where these pieces are focused on. Sort of in order to understand that journey, I have to take people back so they understand why it was so important for me to find these people. And I do believe that. I believe it was very important for me to find these people. It was very important for me to connect to them in some minuscule way, because of my past. And the future that I, you know, would like.
So
Bam, there you go.
That's not a there you go. That's a wow. So, question, just because you brought it up, how did feeling rejected your whole life, then you do a 180, and now there's all of this acceptance and expansion and new family? How did that like smack you in the cross, so to speak?
Well, smack is an understatement. As I was trying to explain it to someone, it literally was walking up to someone and tapping them on the shoulder, and they turn around, and at first they're stunned, and you're kind of stunned at their reaction, and then they slap you, and then they punch you, and then they get a bat and they beat you, and then they kick you, and then they get a car and they run over you, and then they say, well, that won't do it, so I'm gonna go get an SUV and I'm gonna run over you, and then they get a bus and they run over you, and then they get a train and they run over you, and then they drop a couple of 747s on you. You know what I mean? That's really the type of smack that it was, because I knew that it was going to be profound when the very first thing that my biological father said to me when he messaged me literally the same morning I found out about him. He Facebook messengered me, and I looked at his number for a good 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I just sat there staring at my phone, and trying to methodically figure out how I was going to approach this thing. And I said, fuck it, call him. Yeah. And so I pushed his number, and he picked up right away. And I said, hello, is this Peter? And he said, yeah. And he said, this is Clarence? I said, yeah. He said, man, I've been looking for you for over 42 years. And
Uh,
my like everything in me just sank because any adoptee that you talk to, if they don't know the circumstances of their adoption, then you assume you were given up.
mhm.
That's usually the storyline. You're given up. Someone gives you away. Someone says, I can't have you. I don't want you. You know what I mean? And they give you away. And here was someone who I had never heard anything about. I had only
Mhm.
heard little snippets about my biological mother. I had never heard anything about my biological father. And here was this man, this stranger, telling me, I've been looking for you for over 42 years. The
Woo.
the the sheer the awesomeness of knowing that you're wanted by
Mm.
a complete stranger, but knowing that you were wanted in one single breath is unreal. Is unreal.
So I'm gonna quote a wise man. During our pre-interview, you said that your biological father texted you or called you. I don't remember which one. Don't beat me up. Said happy birthday to you, and you said it fucked you up. Tell
It
me about that. Tell me about that because the way you were like, yo, it fucked me up.
well, let me flip that around before I answer. How do you think it fucked me up? How do you think that? How if okay, if you have, but just you just spill it out, spill it out. How do you think it
So,
affected
and we discussed this that my wife just literally found her biological family the
me?
same time. When I say April, March, April, May, in that area, the same
Yep.
time. And for people watching, me and Clarence, we don't talk like every second of every day. So a lot of times it's talking,
Yeah.
catching up, talking, catching up. And we were doing a pre-interview, so some of the stuff I knew and some of the things I didn't know. And he was telling me about his journey and how happy he was. And Patty was telling me the same thing. And I, my interpretation of how it must have been like, first of all, when you think the person doesn't care about you and doesn't want you, and then for them, my opinion, for them to know enough to say happy birthday to you, in your head, that doesn't even compute. That doesn't even compute.
It So I'm gonna take it one step further.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my father is, he's not the he was the first person I ran across, but certainly not the last person I ran
Mm-hmm.
across. Who for him birthdays, his own other people's birthdays, they just don't matter. They are another day. It's nothing's changed. Whatever. You keep moving forward. Blah 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 blah. But it doesn't change wanting to hear that.
Right.
I didn't say that you had to buy me a car every birthday. You don't have to give me a bunch of money every birthday. It's not what are you gonna actually what are you gonna do for me next? It's the simple things. It's always the little things. And that is one lesson that keeps popping up in my life. It's the little things. It's the little things.
Mm.
You talk about my journey to my marriage, and what I went through prior
Mm.
to really was the one of the icings on the cake in terms of understanding it's the little things. But back to the birthday thing, my father has never, not a card, not a phone call, no nothing, no nothing, never, not ever. And as a child, I believe it was only done because my mother sort of
Mm.
nudged him. I think that's what I honestly believe. I think she did her motherly thing and said, "Hey, that's your son. Say happy birthday."
Yeah.
That type of thing like that. But in terms of a genuine, "Hey, happy birthday," to have this person, this stranger, because seriously, he's still a stranger, to have this stranger be the very first person, and not a text, which would have been fine, but to pick up the phone and say to me, "Happy birthday." It shook me. I was in tears. I was late for work. I got to work, and the first thing I did was I saw someone, and I was like, "Ah!" And I was in tears, and I had to run into a room because I was crying, and I was, I'm an emotional person to begin with, but it was just like, holy shit, like, and then, of course, in the back of my mind, because I overanalyze everything, in the back of my mind, I've got the little guy telling me, well, he's probably doing that because he, hasn't seen you since you were an infant. You know what I mean? So he's going to try to make up for lost time. But I was like, well, there are other things and other ways to make up for lost time. But like, god damn, like you don't realize what you're missing until it's in your hand. And then you're like, oh shit, like that's what that feels like. Wow. That's what that feels like. It fucked me up, man. Woo, baby. It fucked me up. And there's more to that. There's more to that story. Because I don't think it would have fucked me up as badly if I had not gone through a very traumatic less than 24 hours period. The day I met my my biological parents and one of my biological siblings. Those 24 hours were one of the highest and lowest points I've ever experienced in my life. And it was that moment, it was those 24 hours which have energized me to tell this story, which have really pushed me to clarify within my own mind space how I want to tell this story. And like I said, earlier, it's a reconnection as to how and why I began writing. So there we go.
So let me ask you a question. Now, you said that you were caught off guard with the emotions around, yes, that, but everything. So, and people just, huh? I'm sorry.
I said, oh yeah.
Yes. So people assume that because we write and we write poetry, that it's every emotion that's on the tip of our fingers and every thought and every feeling, and it's all 100%, only ours, which for me isn't true. I don't know about you, but a lot of times it's scanning of feelings and emotions and borrowing. So I know typically when I write, it's almost, yes, it's my emotion, but it's almost an arm's length away, because you know how it is. You can't only write when you're emotional or pissed off or angry or happy.
Of course.
Never get anything
of
done.
course.
So,
well, you know what? It's yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off here, but you're right. You can't. It's not just emotional. You don't. I certainly don't only write because of an emotion. Yeah. I've often said that my writing actually comes from a place of pictures. I grew up with a mother who, oh my God bless her. The woman was a walking freaking Polaroid, she just click, 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 click. Oh God, it got to a point where I fucking hated pictures. And I hated pictures because they were constantly being taken. I hated pictures because, truthfully, I was not made to feel very attractive growing up. I was ridiculed. I was ridiculed by family. I was ridiculed by everyone. I was ridiculed by people's kids at church. I was ridiculed at school. I was ridiculed, it came from everywhere. And so I didn't grow up feeling like I should be in front of a camera. And it felt so fake. You know what I mean? It felt so just unreal. And I didn't grow up. It's not like I grew up knowing that photography existed in an artistic way. To me, photography only existed just because someone wanted to take a picture, because someone wanted a happy moment. It didn't occur to me until years later, when I started, when I was in like high school and of course college, where it was like, oh, so people take photographs as art. People take photographs to convey a message and things like that. So one of the things when it comes to my writing, I was looking at my writing as snapshots. They're little moments in time, little moments I want to capture. I might just want to capture me drinking this wine right now and having this conversation. And so the way, instead of me taking out that Polaroid and click, and doing this number, or taking out my phone nowadays, now one of the ways I do it, and what I started to do was I started to write it. Writing for me started as communication. It was a way for me to communicate. I needed to communicate. When you grow up not being able to communicate, yes, I hate pictures. I hate pictures. But what's just odd, because I am considered a visual artist. I consider myself a visual artist. The picture that I have just for this background here, people are like, oh my God, you do such wonderful pictures. And oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I work with very talented people. I have a very clear way that I want people to see me when I'm in a photo. And I love doing it that way. And I have a respect for pictures that I did not have growing up, because I understand the power of pictures. So, yeah.
So we could talk all day about the adoption process and all that stuff, and it's seeming like we're going to have a part 2, 3, 4, and 5, because this is what we do. People, this is what we do. When me and Clarence get together, we talk. And one of the questions that I did have is, people, you're a writer, yes, but are you a poet or are you a storyteller? Because all of the nuances of your art are telling stories.
Yeah. We talked about this, and I think I said I consider it more storytelling, I guess. You know what I mean? And because I'm trying to. It's telling a story. First of all, I'm Southern. Okay, Southerners tell stories. We tell stories. We tell these long, tall tales and whatnot. But the way I tell my stories is through poetry. It's a very concise way of telling a story. And when I began writing, I would write short stories. And when I was in the 9th grade, I think I told you this story when we did our interview. When I was in the 9th grade, one of my classmates came to me. His name was Stephen Duggar. I'll never forget him. And Stephen asked me to write a song, and I was like, he was like, hey, can you write a song? You write songs? I was like, yeah, I can do that. I was like, oh, someone's talking to me. Oh, okay, the freak kid, someone's talking to me. So I sat down and wrote this song. And what's funny is, I guess he had a band or whatever like that. He was in. I don't know if it was true or not or whatnot. But I wrote this song called White Fang, and God, I wish I still had the lyrics. But the song was all about cocaine. Not that I'd ever done cocaine or whatever like that, but I just wanted to tell this story about cocaine. And so I wrote this song called White Fang, and he loved it. And that's what got me hooked on understanding the power of poetry, and being able to tell a story, but in a very concise way, very, very concise way.
I love it, because one of my other guests, Glenn, I call him a griot, a storyteller, just because of the way he conveys. And I would put you in that category. So
no, I did not do cocaine. Who said? No. And okay, so hold on. I got to address the cocaine issue. Here's a funny. Let me tell you something that's really funny about cocaine. Okay, cocaine has entered my life in various ways. It's hilarious. That was the first time I had ever written about it. But no, I have never done it. I've never done it. Listen. I will be the first person to say, see this shit here in fucking whiskey. I fucking love a good drink. I don't give a damn. I would drink my ass off. And guess what? I enjoy some good gummies and some good edibles, some chocolate especially. However, when it comes to the cocaine, I used to work for Busch Gardens in Tampa, Florida, many years ago. And one day they came to me. I'd gotten hired. I think it was my second go around working there while I was in college or something like that. And they came up to me and they were like, "Okay, you got to follow us." And then they told me, "So, we have to let you go because your drug test came back positive for cocaine." And I was in college at the time on a writing scholarship, on a cross-country scholarship, on all kinds of scholarships, going to this private school. And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck are you saying did cocaine? I have never done no goddamn cocaine." So they let me go, and they were like, and they told me at the time, they were like, the only way, if you go and get an independent test and you bring the results back, then they'll weigh that against it or whatever like that, blah, blah, blah. I went straight to my doctor, got an independent test, and I remember, here's that thing about not feeling supported and feeling rejected. I remember at the time telling my parents, and I remember at the time, my father, like, literally standing there and accusing me of actually doing this shit. And I was just like, motherfucker, I want to take this fucking bottle and, oh my God. Like, I don't think my father ever realized, I don't think he realized how many times he came close to death. Because I was like, dude, really, you think I'm going to do that?
Serial killer, I got you. That's what you want.
Well, a serial killer repeats. A serial killer repeats, okay? But like, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I don't do this shit. I don't do this shit. And then some years later, as I say that as I'm like wiping my nose here, some years later, I had these roommates who loved cocaine. I mean, it was like fucking Scarface. Sometimes I used to walk in and see piles of this shit and just be like, y'all are fucking crazy. And I remember one time walking in from work, and my roommates had, they were having a little get together or whatever like that, and they had some out. And somebody walked up to me and asked me if I wanted some. And I knew the type of person that my friends and associates thought of me as immediately in that moment. And one of my roommates spoke up. One of my roommates jumped right in and said, "No, he does not do that. Please don't offer him that." And I was so happy because they knew right off the bat. They knew that this was something I didn't do. I didn't associate. Again, you want to pass me a beer, you want to pass me some drinky, I'm there. But that shit, no. So no, I don't do no damn cocaine. Never have, never will.
So interesting. So Clarence might have dabbled. I'm playing with you. So, like I said, we have many things that we talk about, and part of I think the learning when it comes to interacting with you is in conversations. It's not you sitting down and saying, "Oh, you should do this and that and da 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 da." It's, you know what? When I went through this is how I did it. And the first time we met in a poetic aspect was in Brooklyn at the Barnes and Nobles. It was Siegelman, right?
Yep.
Ken Siegelman, right? Am I correct?
The late Ken Siegelman. Yes, the late Ken Siegelman.
Great guy, very nice. He let me come. He let me do some poetry, and I was rough around the everything. But, like I said, he was very nice and very open, and you were one of the people that stuck around, and, we kind of just talked and, chopped it up, and it wasn't anything more than just having a conversation, because no matter what art you do, it's always great to have somebody to talk to about your art. So, like, things we were doing, I think we were doing a tribute to you there, and we had to pick your pieces and perform them. And one of the things that always resonated with me, and I don't know if I told you this, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do my best Clarence. You were like, no. You have to do your best you.
Yes.
You have to be you.
Yes.
You have to be Achille. Don't
yes.
be like me. Don't try to read it and cater
yes.
that stuff. And that was one of the things that resonated with me. And I know education is huge with you and working with people and influence them. And are you a TA or a para? I don't want to tell you to.
Okay. So the technical term, I'm an educational assistant. We are known as paraprofessionals, teaching assistants. It just depends on how long you've been around in the system, frankly. But if I'm officially on paper, I'm an educational assistant.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Now, because you do help people with their education, how did you, and we talked about this a little bit, you had a bunch of quotes about education. See if I can find some. You've been encouraging growth for 16 years, you told me. You said learning teams and coaching, including that in your friendships, and that helps with education and helping people learn. You're just full of all these superlatives.
Well, thank you. One of the things I think I kind of touched on this in the last time we talked was how really I have to thank Pool. Pool is what really taught me how to be a good educator.
Yes.
Believe it or not, playing pool on a team, and then being a captain of a team really allowed me to understand education and how to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things when I'm playing pool, a lot of times people find out I play pool, and they're like, yeah, whatever like that. I'm like, listen, I know my shit. I will get on the table. I'm not the best in the world, but I've made some good folks, some good pool players think twice about playing me. They're like, oh, he understands how to do this or whatever like that. So when I'm approaching someone new, or someone approaches me or whatnot, or I'm standing around and I'm in a bar, or wherever I am, a pool hall, and I see someone playing, and I'm like, you know what? You learn this thing, and when you're playing in teams, about coaching. And the first lesson in coaching is to ask the person, what do you think? What do you want to do? What do you think is the best way for you to go about solving this situation? Because by them answering that, they're going to tell you everything you need to know. So when you walk into a situation with an artist, okay, what do you think about your performance? How do you think? How do you think you did? Oh, let me tell you what I noticed about you that I love. Let me start with what are your strengths? These are what you're really good at. Now, take what you're good at and tweak this little bit and tweak that little bit. And guess what? If you just tweak a couple little things, what you're already doing naturally will only be elevated, and then you can start tweaking some other things. But tweak these two little things over here. Yep. And then people do, and they're like, oh my God, I saw what you meant. Oh man, that was different. Oh wow, thank you. I haven't, walked on water or taken 2 loaves of bread and fish and fed a massive crowd. But what I've done is I've given you some confidence and told you that guess what? You're already doing it right. You're already doing what you need to do. You just need to hone some stuff. And that was the beauty of you. It was, I would never forget. It was at a poetry reading. I don't think you were there. But I had a guy come up to me afterwards, after this one reading. God, I wish I could remember where it was. And he was, he had performed. People, let me quantify this by saying people have always asked me, did you ever perform at the New Eurekan Cafe and everything like that? I'm like, and this is exactly what I do. I do this number like this, and I kind of just go, well, no, I haven't. And truth is, I kind of don't want to because it's not my thing. Not that I want to be in a room full of 90-year-olds reading Walt Whitman, but I do, I just know that my thing isn't always da 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 boo
Yes,
boo
and
boo
this is so
ba boo
great.
ba boo
Oh my
ba
God.
ba
Blah,
ba
blah, blah.
fly
Yeah.
she with that. I'm not most deaf.
Yeah.
I'm not these guys. That's not my thing. And this guy really criticized me right off the bat because I wasn't off book with my poetry. And I was like,
Hate
dude,
that.
I was
Explain
like,
off book
I'm
too.
like, I'm like, I've probably written more poetry than you've ever read, number one. Okay.
Yeah.
And number two, just because I'm not off book, I mean, come on already. I did a one-man show. I was off book for fucking 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So yeah, it rubs me the wrong way. How about going the other way around? Hey man, I really like that piece. Have you tried to memorize it? Totally different.
Yep.
Totally different. You change the artist immediately in that moment because now the artist is going, oh, maybe that piece would be good if I wasn't reading it and I was off book on it and I was able to recite that piece. I could do some fun things with it or like that. So that's why I always take that approach, when it comes to education and when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to just trying to navigate the joys of that. So
I've had people come up to me and talk to me about, oh, so you do slam? No. Well, no, you're a performance poet. No. And I tell people all the time, I'm a poet. I consider myself a writer first. It's not any kind of
yes, exactly.
I consider myself a writer. You want me to write something? Is it going to be perfect? Percent of the time, no. But 93% of the time, if you want me to write something, I can write it.
Let me. Okay, I'm very similar.
Yeah,
I'm very similar. I would say I'm a writer first, and but I'm very clear about with people. Do not ask me to write a term paper. That's not what I'm talking about. But I can look at someone's communication. And if they want to write a letter to a lawyer, if they're trying to communicate with their landlord, if they're trying to communicate with other individuals, and I'm going, no, this is redundant. No, you don't need this. No, you don't need this. And listen, and it's the same thing I do for my own writing. It's why you should always have someone look at what you write. I have there's a gentleman here who's tuned in. His name is Matthew Brown. He's like one of my best friends. Thank you, Matt. So happy that you're here. Matt. Matt, many times I've had to send communications out, and I will have Matt look at it, and Matt will go, "No, you don't need to say this. Nope, you're going in the wrong place with this, or whatnot." And that's why you have people look at things. But I'm very good at taking people's writing and going, no, I can say this, and you want to say this, and they're like, "Golly, that's so good. My God, you're so good at like honing it in." I said, "That's because I'm a writer. I deal in words. Writers deal in words, and that's it. And then you just maneuver it to different specs. My most comfortable place when dealing with words is through poetry. But I did not start in poetry, as I said before. I started writing prose, so I'm very when it just comes to just writing a story, honey. I can lay out some details or whatever like that, and now I'll give it to someone editor to clean it up. But I can lay out some details and paint a beautiful picture like that. So yes, writers first. Writers first. Yeah.
So one of the things, we were in a show together out here, and the lady who ran it, very nice, ran a dance studio, and she was a dancer, and she had been around. And I'm not knocking her.
I remember that.
Her expertise or anything like that. Her critique was always, well, why don't you go off book, go off script, go off book, go off script, go off book, go off script. And I said, well, and this is something I learned from you. If you're good, you're good. I don't care what's in front of me or not in front of me. If you're good, you're good. And that's not me bragging, but watching, and one of the things I do like about performance poetry, I'm always watching people to watch the little things and the little signs and the little minutiae things they do when they're performing, when they're giving speeches. The presidents, when they give speech. Obama, watching the way he performed and he gave speeches, phenomenal. Watching
Yes.
minister, when I was in church, I would watch the pastors listening to what they say, but I would watch how they transition the stories and all that stuff. Watching teachers, watching you. So when I watch you perform on book versus off book, and I've seen you do a couple of things off book, off script, that means I'm not reading for people who don't know. That means the book, the script, I'm not reading. Oh, you got to make eye contact. You got to do that, blah, blah, blah. So, yes, there are people that they do that. And performance poetry and cadence and pace and I'm breath control and all of that stuff. I'm not knocking.
Yeah, but
I'm not, that's not my wheelhouse. Because like I said, end of the day, you ask me what I am, I'm a writer and I perform. So when I'm performing for a purpose. I'm performing my poetry. I don't need somebody else to tell me how to perform my poetry. And the feeling, the emotion, the annotations, the places where you pause and all of that, if it's in my head, I know it. And that doesn't have to be off script. That's just my little aside to piggyback off of what you were saying about being on script versus being off script, especially a person as accomplished as yourself with being off script.
Listen,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great skill to have. Listen,
Yes.
it is an absolutely wonderful skill to have. And like I will tell people all the time, listen, if I have to do it, if it's something that I absolutely have to do, oh yeah, baby, I can do it. You know what I mean? As one of my favorite performers likes to say, she goes, "Honey, I'm a performer, baby. I can do that shit if I have to." But a lot of times I'm like, fuck it, I don't need to, because I know that my words will speak for themselves, point blank in the field.
And if you've prepared enough, it's like going off script anyway. Yes, I got the book
exactly.
In front, but what people don't understand is there's tools to calm yourself. There's tools to keep you centered when you're performing. You look, the president, whoever has a pedestal. If you don't have a pedestal and it's just you up there, you don't understand how bright and burning the light is when it's just you.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
So speaking about the New Yorker, I was interested in going there, but I'm not a slam poet, and I know that's blah blah blah. But have you gone to the New Yorker? Well, no, I have kids. I'm not going to the city at 10, 11, whenever it is on a Friday night to do that. And that's not shade. It's very
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I understand. So I do want to talk about, you did say a Dave Chappelle quote. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Elucidate for me, sir. Elucidate.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Oh God, that's a well. You know what I mean? Because it really depends. It's everything. It's in everything. It's in everything. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's oh golly. In terms of poetry, it's one of the. So I have this very famous piece called "In." Okay, and "In" is it's meant to push buttons. And it's about the word nigga. All right. And what's the difference between nigga and nigger? And I wrote this piece. I wrote this piece again as a snapshot. It was I was sitting at work at the time. I was working for a messenger company as a phone operator. And these bike messengers would all come in and they would hang around the dispatcher's desk and stuff. And, all you hear is, nigga this, nigga. And it was just, and I would sit here and I was just like, oh my God. It was the first time in my life where I had been in an environment where the word was tossed around like Nino Brown and turkeys on Thanksgiving. I mean, it everywhere, and I remember taking out my pen and paper and I just nigga this, nigga that, that, and it just and I wrote this piece and I remember doing it at Brooklyn Poetry Outreach.
Mm-hmm.
It was, in fact, it was one of the very first pieces I did. And
Mm.
I remember Ken coming up to me afterwards and saying to me, and my, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know
Mm.
what I mean? You have to be very cognizant of where you are, your audience, what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, the messages you're trying to convey, the
Mm-hmm.
overall message you're trying to convey. What's your goal here? What's
Yep.
your goal here? You know what I mean? Are you just spitting words, and they're great words, or are you trying to give an overall message? And if you're trying to give an overall message, you want to think about how you're doing that. You know what I mean? And I was taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what I mean? But then I thought about it. I was like, oh shit, he's kind of right. It
Yep.
wasn't. He didn't have a problem with the piece, but maybe probably not the best piece to do in Park Slope and
Park Slope.
Barnes and Noble's basement. You know what I mean? And I'm yelling out, digger, digger, and the people in the children's section, which was just
Yep.
down the aisle,
Yep.
going, oh my god, that type of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so spot on because I love that piece. And I have a similar aversion to the word. A lot of people don't understand why I don't like it, and then but I say, well, do you understand the history behind it? Well, no, we've changed it and all of that stuff. That's neither here nor there. I don't want to quibble over your interpretation of changing the power of a word, but to me, just don't call me that. Oh, you're not black now? Well, listen, this doesn't wash off. So if that's your interpretation of me not wanting to be called the N-word, I apologize. I'm sorry. And there's some people that just say it so much that I'm just like, whatever. And I explain to them, just understand what you're saying and understand what it means. And this is supposed to be my best friend, my brother, my ride or die, somebody I love, and you're calling him that, and you don't understand all that's behind it. That's my little, I'll get off the soapbox now, but we've talked about this before. And it's
Yeah,
always been
yeah.
something, especially when you know the history behind it, that irks my soul.
Nah, yep. Same here, buddy. Same here.
Some more things. We talked a little bit about the inauguration poet, the poet Amanda. I don't remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know you wanted to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I remember. I think your question was to me. Well, how did I feel about her? And I said to you, I kind of paused and I said to you, I believe, first of all, what she did, her piece was wonderful. Her
Yep.
piece was absolutely wonderful, and I absolutely love that she is. I love the attention she got from it. Listen, baby, go and get yours. Go and get yours. I'm very curious to see what she's going to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How is her poetry going to develop? That's why I'm very curious. Why? What's going to be the next level of her poetry? Here's someone who definitely clearly has a talent,
Mm-hmm.
and has a clear shot at going anywhere she wants to go.
Yeah.
But are we gonna have a Lauryn Hill on our hands who's gonna say, "Oh, wait a minute,
I can't handle it.
I might have to, I can't handle it. I have to sacrifice my art"? Or are we gonna have someone who turns into a Jill Scott who says, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take this thing and I'm gonna manipulate it and work it for all
Mm-hmm.
that I can." It is why Jill is one of my favorite poets. I absolutely love her.
Oh, yeah.
She is someone.
Dope.
She is. For me, she's the queen. I mean, she's the queen. I absolutely love her. She gives me chills. She gives me chills. If you have never seen this woman, perform, you need to. A singer, actress, poet, writer. She is the epitome of an excellent poet. She comes in and she is able to take you on a journey
Mm-hmm.
that I have seen very few male or female poets be able to do. A very beautiful journey, and I absolutely love her. She is never so high above brow, and if she goes low, she does it in the most unbelievable way. That is, it's like silk. It's like, what did the guy say from the Matrix, the Merovingian? He said it's like wiping your ass with silk, cursing in French. That's what she does. She's able to do it. She's able to. It's like, it's so nasty, but it's like, ooh, oh, you're like, oh, damn, I love her. So, and that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. This young lady does. I hope she goes that route. I hope that she embraces it and she elevates herself and understands that she's been handed a wonderful opportunity to especially share with more little brown kids the joys of reading, the joys of knowledge, the joys of words, of understanding the power of your words. I know many kids do, but I know more kids do not.
Yeah.
Especially brown kids. They do not understand the power of words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of to piggyback on that, you see a lot of the kids, I want to rap, I want to do this. Okay, you want to be a rapper, but you don't know vocabulary, you don't know how to use a thesaurus, you don't know how to use a dictionary. You might not think those things are important when you're going to rap, but I tell you, when I was younger, I started with a vocabulary builder and a dictionary.
Beautiful. I listen. You were better off than me, because I wasn't even doing that. I wasn't walking around when I started writing. I was just writing words. I mean, half of my stories were my own vocabulary. I damn near wrote in Klingon. Yeah. So but it's funny you were saying that. I wanted to tell you, working with the population that I used to work with, especially when I'm working with the older kids, I used to always tell them, I'm like, well, you want to do that, I think that's great. You want to be a basketball player, you want to be a football player, you want to be a baller, whatever you want to do, that's great. And then I go to the chalkboard and I write $1 million on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
And I go, so you're going to be a rapper, all right?
Mm-hmm.
See this right here? That's what they're going to give you. They're going to offer you this. I said, now what? What are you going to do with that? And then I start doing a math lesson with them. I understand you want to be a rapper, and listen, I want you to be a rapper too. But that's a business first. I'm sorry. That's a business first. Being a writer is not a business. Nope. Being a rapper is a business first.
Yeah.
And then artist second. So if you're not thinking business first, you're fucked. Yeah. That's essentially the lesson I'm trying to teach them here. So if you want to be about words, then let's look over in this direction.
Yes.
And it's the old adage of, I had a professor in college. His name was Michael Stazar.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael was blunt. Michael was very blunt when he would tell us. He would say, I know a lot of you guys are thinking about going into entertainment. Mm-hmm. And he would say, some of you want to go into theater. Others of you want to go into movies and television. And he told us very bluntly, he said, go and get your money first.
Yeah.
Meaning, go work in television. Yeah. Go get your money first, and then you can hone your stuff for the stage, and you can have the money and the time. You can get private lessons and hone your stuff for the stage. He was very blunt, and I always loved him for that.
You got to understand that the Jay-Z's of the world, and the Beyoncés, and the Nas's, or whoever you want to, even the T.I.'s, the Nellies, the Ludacris, all of these people they're anomalies.
I gotta say, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, real quick. I gotta do a shout out to Matthew Brown here. I love that about asking them if they will be able to read the contract, and I also love the French taunter here. about that quote from Puff Daddy, man. That's exactly, I'm not a
Yeah,
businessman. I'm a business man. You know.
it was Jay-Z. But he's right. And even now, when I talk to authors about stuff, it's about branding. It's about branding. And you don't think it's a bit, you are going on your social media and you're pushing pictures of all of this stuff. Talk about your book. Talk about what you're doing. Talk about your writing. Do they know you?
Exactly.
Do people associate you with writing? Because people
With
associate me
writing.
with Joker, but they all know I write. And you can say whatever
Exactly.
you want, but you know
Exactly.
I write. So when you see me, you could ask me about my book because that's how you become what you want to be. You want to influence people. You want to impact them in many different ways. So,
Yep.
I got to ask you about the man himself. Tell me a little bit about your husband for a couple of minutes. Let's give him some love.
Oh, my babe. So unfortunately, he's at work
Okay.
right now. Yeah, Francisco. He's wonderful. I'm a lucky person to have found him. I I never thought, I just never thought that I would. I wasn't expecting to find someone. I re-entered the dating pool at the time after a 6-year relationship, where, as you know, my partner of that particular relationship died very suddenly. In fact, tomorrow is the 6-year anniversary of his death. So, this is always an emotional time for me this time of year. But after that happened, I I was drained. I was
Oh,
drained
I remember.
just on all levels, on all levels, on a creative level, on a thank you, Matt. On a creative level, on spiritual level, I just in every
Mm-hmm.
way, shape, or form, I was spent, and that was certainly. I was momentarily spent, and then it just I don't even think I realized how spent I was until I remember at some point after about a year, just after he'd been dead for about a year, and I remember trying to write something, and I just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have it in me,
Mm-hmm.
and then along came this
Suave,
along came
smooth. I know.
I wouldn't say suave, but
I
along
was.
came this little guy,
Mm-hmm.
and who just sort of entered my life,
Mm-hmm.
and then before we knew it, 2 years had passed,
Mm-hmm.
and we were getting married. It was odd and joyous and everything. And it was just like, okay, did I do this too soon? Am I doing this too soon? And I was like, no, fuck it. You know how life, you of all people now know how quickly life can change. Do it, damn it. You know what I mean? Go, go balls deep, head in, understand what you're getting
Yeah.
into. And even if you think you understand, you don't. Because as you know, you
Yep.
learn, you think you know, and then you're like,
Yep.
okay, all right, okay, I got you, I got
Yep.
you. So it's I think for our benefit, more than detriment. Certainly for our benefit. COVID happened, and we sort of, it was like, Baru.
Yeah.
I'm working from home. He's out of a job, and he's sitting at home. And, you know what I mean? And we're just both sitting there, and
Mm-hmm.
getting to know each other, getting and really getting all those little details about each other that we hadn't expressed, or that we were so waiting to get to certain, what I mean. And it just sort of was like, okay, here you go, y'all about to know every damn thing about each other now. So we're great. He's an incredible person, extremely smart, very savvy. I just watched him the other day. We went to look at new cars, and I just watched this guy. I was in awe. I was like, damn, all right. I was like, oh shit. Like, I like you. I'm falling in love with you all over again, type of thing. He's incredible.
Yes.
The only thing I absolutely hate, and it's not about him, it's about me, is that for some reason I always tend to end up with people who don't fucking cook.
Oh man.
He
Okay.
will tell me every damn thing about how to cook some shit, but won't fucking cook.
I love it.
Doesn't cook.
That's your
And
albatross.
I'm just like, I told him, I said, the next time, don't ask me about a birthday gift, Christmas gift, anniversary. Don't ask me about any gift. I said, you want to get me a gift? Be in this kitchen one day when I get home and be cooking, and I'm telling you, it'll be done. It'll be done. I'll be like, yes, yes, yes.
Blessings. That's a blessing. So, I think we'll do 2 more questions, then we'll go to our little surprise.
Okay.
So, I
All
gotta
right.
ask you, why are you wearing purple today? There's an artist that has I don't even think huge influence is the word for it. So you go ahead. You walk the people down.
So,
Go ahead.
so the reason why I'm wearing purple today is because of an incredible artist that I respect. Um, you know, they they I wish I'd had the opportunity to tell them how much of an influence they were on me as a writer, because they were the first artist that I connected to. I when they sang, when I heard their music, it was as if they were talking about me. It was my story. It was my struggle with that heavenly side of me and that not so heavenly side of me.
Mm.
It was all the love, and all the hate and all the this and all the. It was as if they had sat down next to me and started writing my emotions and putting my emotions to music. And of course, purple represents Sir Joker.
Yes. Gang, gang, gang. That's right. That's right. I love it. Really
We
referring
all
to
know it.
the artist.
We all know who I'm really talking about, though. It's my man Prince. Remains being just, his death. It's weird because I thought his death was actually going to hit me harder, but his death came, what, like literally 6 months, almost 6 months to the day after Mike died. So I was still dealing with all of that, and then Prince dies, and I was kind of like, what? I mean, I knew I walked into the Twilight Zone when this fucking country somehow fucking put Donald Trump as as the Republican candidate for fucking president of the United States, that same year. But I had already walked into the Twilight Zone with Mike's death. Prince should have certified that I was there, and then when that shit happened, that's when I knew. But yeah, the purple is for my man Prince. He is my biggest influence. He's just like, it's everything. He was everything to me, and still remains like at the core of really who I am spiritually, and who I want to be as an artist. And though I plan on being a better businessman, god damn it, you should have had a will. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Branding. Well, branding.
So
Oh,
hold on.
yes. Cheers to the artist known as Mr. Prince. Okay. So we said we were going to do this fun thing. Now, people, bear with us. This is going to be interesting. Me and Mr. Bess have collaborated before, but we've never collaborated in this way. We are going to have 3 topics. All right. We'll give ourselves a break. We're going to put 6 minutes on the clock. We'll give ourselves 6 minutes.
Oh gosh, oh boy.
Listen, if we get to 6, you know what? We'll do 4 minutes. If we get to 4, we get to 4. We're going to have fun. 3 topics.
Okay.
We're going to interweave them. Our topics are red caps, our family, and poetry. Again, red caps, family, and poetry. Where this is the closest to a freestyle cipher that you're ever going to see us probably ever do. But we want to do something different. And
ooh, yeah.
Collaborative juices flowing. So being that I'm the host,
I guess
go first, or do you want me to go first?
I guess I'll start off. I'll start this thing off.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. I gotta hold on a second here. I gotta get my my thing here. Let's go. Okay. All right. And starting in 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Red caps, mad caps, don't look straight, might get capped.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look right, get capped. Don't look left, get capped. Only want you to look back, get capped. Red caps, mad caps, these caps need naps because these naps can't stand those caps. Look right, get capped. Look left, get capped. Why is it about getting capped? That's the only thing you guys seem to understand.
Esoteric fields and illusions of the caps and what they mean to you and me and us and you. But we come back to the esoteric meaning that it's not real because the caps paint a false image, a false illusion. Families of red caps come together and mourn each other in celebration. Don't realize that what's coming forth is devastation and annihilation because caps spinning, caps everywhere, caps to the left, like Mr. Bess said, caps to the right, like Mr. Bess said, caps in the middle because everybody has to be left or right. Devastation, broken. Bicycles without chains. I'm stuck in place because my cap says one thing, but your brain says another.
Brain says another. Brain says your mother. Brain says your father. Brain says your sisters, your brothers. Brain says you are nothing. Brain says I want to bury you. Brain says why you? Why not me? See, it's all about my selfish existence. See, you don't see me. You never will see me. Can't see me. I'm too lost underneath the brim of my red cap. My family's mad caps. Everywhere I look needs to be white caps. Peace caps. Love caps. Tap that. Caps. I do not understand why families, generation upon generation, want these caps. These caps fixing broken teeth, broken words, broken ideas, only to then devastate another cap. Again, I turn right, get capped. I turn left, get capped. I look back over my shoulder, I get capped. I ask for help, get capped. I need your help. Fuck you, get capped.
Families looking around at the caps that are supposed to be around. They are supposed to be brown, but they're blood colored, writing broken poetry because the poetry is supposed to be in the family, but the Caps have broken the poetry apart. Not my family or your family, but our family, that the Red Caps are saying, let's make it great again, but we don't know how to be great because we were never great before the Red Caps came in and told us, well, what were we missing before? Oil tycoons and presidents come in and swoop and rocking the Red Caps, spun to the back, but it spun back because we've gone back in time. We've retreated. So we're sitting here writing broken poetry and broken rhymes because when we sit here and try to look and think and talk about what's going on, you hide behind your red cap.
And speaking of family, my family, oh, my family, man, my family. One broken tree, one broken branch after the next. I'm thinking about family. Family's got me twisted, gnarled. I'm the old olive tree. I thought I was oak, but no, man, I'm a weeping willow on the shores of a river of pain. I do not understand why. I do not understand how. I do not understand only that I was a seed that fell from this tree, flowed down the river, placed upon another shore, and then grew. I grew and I grew into another family of trees not like me. And now I'm searching for these other trees. I'm searching for my trees. I'm searching for those branches like me. I'm searching, wanting to know, why is my skin cracked? Why is my brain cracked? Why are my teeth cracked? Why is it all cracked? Why am I this way? Because why? Family, the past. Maybe family was embarrassed because I didn't look like them. Maybe family said your leaves brown a little too quickly. Maybe family said your leaves aren't quite green enough. Maybe family said your leaves are a little too limp-wristed. Maybe family said your leaves aren't quite the way we need them. They're not spiritual. They don't sing the verses we need them to sing. They don't know the psalms we need them to know. These trees that I have become, that I am searching for, I am confused. These trees, I need my family. I want my family. I want all my trees. I want a forest. I want us. We are the lungs of the earth. I need my trees. I need my family, baby. Yes. I need my trees. Maybe I'll just go smoke some tree. Bam.
Family trees that grew out of concrete. I'm on my Tupac shit. But you're sitting here in a pile of it, trying to tell us that we don't know what's going on and we don't know how to be great and we don't know how to be Americans. What happened to the story? What happened to where we were, what we used to be? Because broken family trees, desecrated family trees, cracked family trees, but when they come back together, the tree has emerged, and we're still two roses that grew from the crack in the concrete. And we're going to end right here because I don't got no more to say.
He's got no more to say because why? That's poetry. You speak and you write and you create until you cannot create anymore. But that's the beauty of it. It never ends. Poetry is eternal. Poetry is all. Poetry is the ending, the beginning, and all that is in between. The dash between your birth and your death, that is poetry. Poetry is elevation. Poetry is underneath, on top. Poetry is a song. Poetry is a dance. Poetry is words. Poetry is life. Poetry is breath. We breathe. We all breathe. We all are poetry.
Look at that. Give it up for the man. Mr. Clarence C. Bess. Can you bring up his information, please, sir, Mr. Munoz, so that everybody can see? All right, if you're interested.
Yes, folks. Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, those. Yep. Find me on Facebook. My blog. My blog's a great way to just go through pieces that I've written in the past. You can connect to my books. There are links to buy my different books. I also have direct sales. You can contact me directly. SHEIKRA75 That's Shikra75 Yes, I do PayPal. We can all discuss that shit. And the books are a lot cheaper if you get them directly through me. But anyway, stay tuned, folks. I'm going to be doing more of these types of gigs, and I am very, very blessed to have been here. I want to thank Mr. Matt Munoz. Did I say that?
Yeah, Munoz.
Okay, Munoz.
Yes.
I want to thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your technical savvy here and hosting this. Sir Joker, you are, you've become sort of my poetic son.
I'm okay with that.
I really, I love you. I love you. You are an amazing man, brother. Keep pushing. I salute you to your beautiful, wonderful wife and your family. You guys, I'm so happy you found each other, and I want everything. I wish you all the success in your new ventures and whatnot. And let's keep this ball rolling, man. Let's keep it going, okay?
Jimmy Nails, we're almost done, but I have one last question for you, Mr. Bess. If you could be a superhero.
Oh, and I actually, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No.
You ask me your. I'm gonna answer your question, and then I do have one last performance to do. Two. If you can give me just a couple of minutes, I want to do 2 pieces. Okay, 2 very special pieces. So, what's your question?
If you could be a superhero or supervillain, either or, you could be both. Who would you be and why?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so I already know who as a superhero who I'd want to be. I'd want to be Dr. Manhattan. I freaking just love. I just thought he was the coolest shit. In Watchmen. That dude, once I saw him, I was like, that's it. That's who I need to be. I need to be Dr. Manhattan because this motherfucker is just amazing. That I need to be him. And then in terms of a villain,
Mm-hmm. You don't have to pick both, but you can pick both, please.
In terms of a villain, golly. I'd want to be the devil.
I love it.
Because he's having all the fucking fun.
As the young kids say, fast. No cap. So this is what we're going to do.
If I'm going to go to hell, I want to
go big, right?
Right. Okay. So
1 second.
So
I'm going to do, Matt, take me out while Mr. Clarence performs, and then you can bring me back. Mr. Bess, thank you for coming on Everyday Experts. So after I come back, I'll close out the show. But Matt, let him have his stage. Get it, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, again. So I have a special piece here. There are some people here, and I really want to. Just 1 second. I gotta find it. Where is it? I gotta find a certain piece that I want to do. I didn't think I was gonna get the chance to do it, so I turned away from it. Come on. All right. So. All right. This is an old one. This is an old one here. Oh, maybe not. Oh, God. Okay, golly. All right. I'm sorry here. I thought I had the one that I wanted to do, and I'm like, oh no. Okay, here we go. This is called Corner Sermon. It's an oldie but goodie. Gonna tell me here at this moment that the dream is achieved? If so, let's talk awake. Let's talk promises and acres, the green kind, not the ones that rise, blocking the sun, its precious vitamin D, building blocks for the strength that help build this nation upon misshapen backs and the mutilated souls of those who tried to chase the dream. Gonna tell me, claim me lazy? That I don't take enough advantage of the opportunities abound when my kings and queens are ruthlessly pursued, butchered down just to remind them where they live, who runs this thing. Why should I achieve? Why should I want to leave a system that rewards me for remaining in it, yet penalizes those who even attempt to rise above it? Go ahead, tell me I shouldn't think that way. I had a dream, pretty sure the same dream. But when I woke, the nightmare called reality slapped me back down and said, get in your place, nigga. Behind smiles and institutions too many to name. I had a dream, probably the same. But when I woke, there was no unity. Just the reality of mental chains. Mocha versus coffee bean, stone ghetto against plantation green. And the reality each time someone asks, are your parents white? Because I speak properly, fluently, that even now my skin tone equates to less than, other than, dick size. Go ahead, tell me what to do. Tell me to shut my mouth, get off the pot and join the race. Move myself into creation when evolution consistently passes me by, leaving me here on the corner with my tired words, tired eyes, afraid to sleep, afraid to dream anymore. So that's an oldie. That's for a special person here. Actually, for a couple of special people here, and for you all. I wanted to share one of my new pieces with you from this work that I'm working on now. It's not a complete piece, so you'll have to forgive me. And it's not a poem. This new work that I'm doing is a collection of both poetry and small stories, short stories, little vignettes about my past and whatnot. But this one is one of my favorites to share. So there are several stories of note surrounding my time at 3204. Of them, I recount two with regards to my diminished view of family. My mother is the glue. It took me a good 42 years to understand that, but I'm glad I got around to it. She's the glue because she tries. I've come to believe it's a generational trait, as she tends to share it with many of my friends' mothers of the same years. She supports in a stealthy way that keeps us engaged, despite clear communications from the various parties that if we were left to our own devices, we wouldn't even make the most of cursory efforts to be in each other's lives. This at most times is a positive trait, but it has also resulted in a few disastrous results. The exact birthday escapes me, but I believe it was a significant one. My mother, in her attempt to continue being the best matriarch, decided she would book our family a weekend stay at a Disney World resort. This was to celebrate my dad's birthday and to give our family a bonding moment we could look back on in the future. For me, Disney was a welcome respite from daily life. It remains a place of fond memories with my mother's family. We would often stay to the point of cast members escorting us out amongst the many similar droves of families attempting to get their money's worth, even though the parades and fireworks had ended long ago. As a creature of habit, anything less than an entire day at Disney, especially as a child, was an affront to the very delicacy of my nature. At the time of this legend unfolding, my mother had reconnected with a cousin whom she, usually along with my sister and I and her cousin's daughter, began spending increasing amounts of time with. Though he never outwardly expressed this around his children, I fully believe my father resented this, as my mother's cousin was a woman of the world. I've come to suspect he worried she'd influence my mother in those less than Christianly ways that she exhibited. My mother, being the wiser, informed my father of her birthday plan. Of course, once he learned this little jaunt would require us staying on the premises and missing one day of Sunday morning church services, along with the cost, he quickly eviscerated her. I love my mother, and though I know she would never say it in front of us as kids, she would often show her frustration in other ways. Her yet again bruised psyche reached out to her cousin, and the end result was what could be construed as a compromise. But knowing my father and the heavy southern drawl of his tone when expressing his God given place of authoritarian rule was more of an ultimatum. At the very least, he certainly wasn't about to let my mother's cousin go in his place. As a family, we would indeed go to Disney, just for the day. Well, sort of. It has been said that the only bond stronger than one between a mother and a son is one between a father and his daughter. Actually, I don't think that's ever been said, but experience has lent some credence of truth to it. If my mother and I were collards and cornbread, then my father and sister were peanut butter and chocolate. You have to know me to get that last one. Whether willful or not, my sister's ardent proclivity to please my father began early. It would take years for him to acknowledge that she primarily did this to serve her own needs. And I can assure you, even then, he only stated it as an observation rather than as an admission that he'd been played all those years. This particular trip to Disney was one of many examples and cemented early on my disdain for female siblings or offspring. Since His Highness decided to walk amongst the commoners, he insisted on doing it on his own time and at his own pace. There would be no waiting in line to be amongst the first 1,000 to enter Disney's gargantuan parking lot that morning, or to join the endless parade of crimson lights leaving the space that evening. To make matters worse, my father, and I believe this to only be after an insistence by our mother, decided that my sister and I could only choose 3 rides each to experience. To say I was mortified is an understatement. My mother, watching her hard-earned money wasted, privately promised herself to never attempt to include him in such an activity ever again. And when my mother made a promise, rest assured, she kept it. I don't think my father ever saw the inside of an amusement park after that. Certainly not with his family. The other part to this tale lies upon the family's other sourpuss, my sister. It was bad enough we had to go with my father. It was made worse by him insisting on driving us there, which turned a normal 45-minute drive into almost 2 hours. Further still, the day was worsened by him insisting as well that we head to Disney in the middle of the day, and then decreeing we choose 3 separate attractions each to do before turning around and heading back. But by far the nail in the day's coffin belonged to my sister. At the time, and for our age, there were only a handful of attractions worthy of doing. E-ticket attractions, we called them. If we'd just done Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Fantasy of Flight, also known as If You Had Wings, an already ruined day would have been salvaged enough where I wouldn't feel compelled to write this piece. No, Daddy's Princess decided on Country Bear Jamboree. It's not even a ride. You don't drive nearly 2 hours to go watch animatronic bears while sitting on some hard-ass bench. We could have done that at Chuck E. Cheese. At least there we'd have pizza. I remember begging my sister to choose Thunder Mountain, a roller coaster, or some other ride, but her mind was made up. So there we sat, my father clearly showing his disdain for even being there, my mother doing everything she could to keep a happy face on while privately castrating him in her thoughts, my sister loving the fact she got yet another one over me, and me wanting to find the sharpest knife and slit both hers and my father's throats. Bluntly speaking, I wanted them to die. I wanted to do it so bad it blinded me, and still does to a point that I can only truly picture doing 4 overall things that day. Getting there, Space Mountain, that bear shit, and the picture. The picture remains a poignant moment where miraculously my past and future relationship with those featured in the photo was so accurately captured it's almost frightening. And the one who took it is right where she's always been, doing what she always has, standing on the outside of our drama, doing her best to make the best of it. There we were, the agent of chaos, his minion, and myself, standing on a bridge for that quintessential Magic Kingdom shot. Needing the moment to look as perfect as it could, my mother instructed me to stand on what I believe was a bench, so my height would align better with the tree and its sprout. Something in that moment, my dark passenger possibly, caused whatever fucks I had remaining for the day to escape me. Truth is, I don't remember actually sticking my tongue out, but the proof is in the pudding. Days later, After the picture was finally developed, it was rather evident I wasn't having a good time. Better still, more evident, the source of my expressed disdain: perfection. I've often wondered, did my mother actually intentionally catch me in the act, especially given the nature of film in those days? Only she knows. What I do know is that the universe works in mysterious ways. That picture, that day, they were the voice of God. That day was one of many which sucked for me, but things, as they always seem to at 3204, were about to become much worse. And you'll have to buy the book to find out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. So now that you stole the show and everybody knows that you're the monumental artist that you are, once again, I thank you for coming on the show. Next week, I believe it's
You're
Joy.
welcome.
Matt, can you bring this slate up, please, sir? Yes, next week is Joy. And then on the 30th is the Mental Health Roundtable. So, everyday experts, Sir Joker. Imparting, I say, Clarence, hang around for 2 minutes, please, sir. Poetry
Awesome.
is not an expression of the party line. It's that time of night, lying in bed, thinking what you really think, making the private world public. That's what the poet does. Allen Ginsberg. Everybody have an amazing day.
Beautiful.
Chris, you're a man. I thank you for coming on the show. Hey, Kat, love you, girl. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
In the words of the immortal Mork, Nanu Nanu, Joker out.